Star Wars hype is high, and now is the day Disney dubbed Force Friday because you can buy toys based on the new movie. Many did that, lining up as if they were buying an iPhone overnight. Our next guest says Star Wars merchandise sales could amount to $5 billion in the first year. Tim Nolan is an analyst at Macquarie Capital who rates Disney shares outperform. Also with us, Bloomberg's David Weston. David, welcome. And folks, you know this devil with a blue dress sitting next to me. That would be none other than Stephanie Rule.
Resident Princess Leia for the segment, I would say. As long as I'm not Jabba the Hutt.
Tim, $5 billion is a lot in merchandise sales. What would that be the most ever? Does it equate to anything?
Actually, not even. It does sound like a big number, of course, but we look back at how the Cars franchise has done for Disney in terms of consumer merchandise. We looked at Frozen. Frozen has been out now. You know, the movie came out nearly 2 years ago, but it has done over $5 billion in consumer merchandise.
All those wands.
Lots of little girls with lots of little dresses.
Yeah, exactly.
The Cars 2 film generated $3 billion of merchandise sales in its first year. Cars overall, in its, what's it been out, 5 or 6 years since the first Cars film came out, it's generated more than $10 billion.
Wow.
So I don't think $5 billion for Star Wars is such a big number, actually.
Is that a conservative estimate, then?
I actually think it is. Now, that's a gross consumer sales, retail sales number.
That's
not
going to
$5 billion revenue
translate
to
into
Disney.
licensing revenue of what?
Well, typically Disney licensing revenue might be 5, 8, 10%, something like that. So if you take 10%, because it's a valuable property, let's say it's $500 million of revenue to Disney in year one.
David, you used to work for Bob Iger.
I did.
David, so that everybody knows, is former president of ABC News. You know the leadership well. Disney owned Pixar when you were there. I think
they
when you
bought
were there,
Pixar when I was there.
They bought Pixar. Yeah. Did they buy Marvel when you were there as well?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so Bob Iger has to be feeling pretty darn good about Disney's movie properties, given what Pixar has done, given what Marvel has done. This is going to be the first big title out of the gate for the Lucasfilm's purchase.
I'm sure he does feel very good, but part of it is not just movie titles, because what they've done is they've exploited in so many different ways, and that was the theory of Pixar, and it was the theory of Marvel, and it's going to be the theory of Lucasfilms. And he's done an exceptional job, I would say, first in focusing on big things, not little things, big things. He goes for a few big things, and then he really executes beautifully across all platforms. They've brought this together in a coordinated fashion. I mean, I've been online, I don't know if you have today, to watch this streaming using their Maker Studio people around the world in Sydney, Australia, and in Tokyo with kids unwrapping these toys from Star Wars.
Half a million people have watched it.
Is that right? Half a million already?
Over 500,000 people
really?
watched it.
Didn't know that. Yeah.
And also, hold on, Eric, remember, Frozen is all about 6-year-old kids. Cars, 4-year-old kids. Star Wars, try 46-year-old men.
That's true.
That went to the first one in 1977.
Talk to us a bit, Tim, about how Disney is going to trade on the fact that it's Disney and not DreamWorks. They can do things that DreamWorks, for example, cannot.
Well, it's the immense franchise value. It's the films that translate into the merchandise. It's the TV programming that follows on with that.
The theme parks.
Of course, the theme parks. Don't forget, over the next few years, there will be Star Wars themes coming out in multiple Disney parks around the world.
Then I don't get why analysts aren't modeling in higher gross margins for Disney over time, right? The gross margins of like 46% last year, shouldn't they be a lot higher going forward if you're getting all this brand new licensing revenue out of a film like Star Wars?
Eventually, quite possibly, yes. But there's two things. There is heavy promotional cost for Star Wars in the months going into the film release. Disney is also opening up its Shanghai theme park in the spring of next year.
Another big investment.
Huge investment, $5.5 billion, and that's going to be actually dilutive to earnings, at least in year one. We are expecting that to be profitable, probably even in year two already. The other thing, of course, and this is where Disney stands out versus a lot of its peers, is they are not just a cable TV company. They have so many other properties that generate revenue and earnings. But, you know, Disney was the first company to come out in earnings a month ago calling out an impact of cord cutting on its earnings. And, of course, every other media stock fell off on the back of that. This is a structural issue for the industry. It will not go away. I happen to be a little less bearish than some on how quickly cords will be cut and what the impact is to the industry. But nobody can deny the industry is now changing. And that is that's 45% of Disney's earnings right there as cable networks.
Tim, I want to say thank you very much for coming. Tim Nolan of Macquarie.